You ever wonder why the PlayStation 2 still lives rent-free in every gamer's head? No other console had this many iconic games. But out of thousands of titles, which ones are actually worth playing today? Let's go back deep into the golden era of gaming and count down 25 PS2 games that every gamer needs to experience at least once. Devil May Cry 3 didn't just raise the bar for action games on the PlayStation 2. It basically was the bar. This game didn't care if you were ready. It threw you into the fire from the start and expected you to learn fast or die trying. Combat was fast, flashy, and brutally precise. Every combo had to be earned. Every dodge had to be timed perfectly, and it was the kind of game that made you better just by playing it. The original version was so tough, it felt like the game was actively trying to break your spirit. But later, they released a special edition that gave players more options, making it a little more forgiving. But still, no walk in the park. What really made it special wasn't just the difficulty, it was the style. The way you could switch between different fighting styles mid-battle was a game changer. Another thing that made it stand out was the enemy design. These weren't just basic punching bags. Each demon had its own rhythm and its own way of testing you. Some floated and danced around you, others charged head-on, and the game expected you to read them fast and adapt. And let's not forget the story. A young, cocky Dante fighting through hell on a path to confront his brother Virgil. It was personal, intense, and completely unforgettable. For a lot of fans, me included, this is where the Devil May Cry series truly found its identity. If you grew up with the PlayStation 2, there's a good chance you spent hours trying to shave seconds off your lap times in Gran Turismo 3. This wasn't just a racing game, it was a full-blown driving simulator that demanded precision, patience, and pure dedication. You didn't just pick a car and go. You started small, maybe with a used hatchback, and slowly worked your way up by winning races, upgrading parts, and making smart choices. Every little decision mattered. The wrong tires? You're sliding all over the place. Miss a gear shift? There goes the lead. And let's not forget the license tests. Yeah, they were brutal, but they taught you how to actually drive. It wasn't just go fast and win. You had to master cornering, braking, acceleration, and track control through a series of short-timed challenges. Some of them were straight-up painful to beat, but once you did, it felt like a badge of honor. What made Gran Turismo 3 so addictive was how real it felt. The handling was tight, the sound of the engines was legit, and the sense of speed, especially for its time, was unmatched. It wasn't about flashy crashes or arcade-style drifting. This was serious technical racing, and that challenge kept you coming back. Plus, unlocking rare cars and grinding for cash actually felt rewarding. It turned every race into a grind you didn't mind at all. Even today, fans still talk about it as one of the best racing sims ever made. And honestly, they're not wrong. There's a reason GTA San Andreas is still burned into every gamer's memory. This game didn't just raise the bar for open-world design, it straight up destroyed it. It was wild how much you could do. One moment you're robbing a liquor store, the next you're skydiving over Las Venturas or sneaking into a military base just because you can. What really hit different was how much control you had over everything. Want to bulk CJ up? Hit the gym. Let him get lazy and eat fast food all day and he'll gain weight. His appearance, skills, even how people treated him. It all changed depending on how you played. That kind of character evolution was unheard of at the time. And let's not forget the radio stations. Man, those added a whole new layer of immersion. Whether you were cruising through the hood or gunning it down the freeway, the soundtrack set the vibe. You had everything, from West Coast hip-hop to country music to hilarious talk shows. And the map was massive. From the city chaos of Los Santos to the desert roads of Bone County, every area had its own personality. You never knew what was coming next: street races, gang wars, jetpacks, train heists. It was endless. But underneath all that chaos was a solid story. Family drama, corrupt cops, betrayal, and a journey that pulled you from the bottom to the top. It felt raw and personal, and it's why San Andreas still gets love decades later.
Huh? Hey, over here, come on, keep up.
If you had a PS2 and didn't play Tekken 5, did you even game back then? This game hit different. It took everything that made the series legendary and leveled it up. The punches landed harder, the movement was faster, and the combos? Clean, brutal, and insanely satisfying. Whether you were button mashing with your friends or mastering advanced combos, Tekken 5 gave you a reason to keep coming back. It had one of the slickest rosters ever, mixing old-school legends with fresh new faces. Each fighter had their own unique style, making every matchup feel fresh. And let's not forget the graphics. For a PlayStation 2 game, this thing looked gorgeous. Smooth animations, detailed models, and stages that actually felt alive. One of the coolest things about Tekken 5 was the arcade history mode. You could actually play the first 3 Tekkens right from the main menu. But what really made Tekken 5 stand out, though, was how tight the gameplay felt. It was easy to pick up but tough to master, which is exactly what you want in a fighting game. It respected casual players but rewarded the ones who put in the time to get good. If you're enjoying the video so far, do me a favor and hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more content like this. Want to take it a step further? You can even become a channel member and help support what we do here. Seriously, thanks for watching, it means a lot. If you've never played Dragon Quest VIII, you missed out on one of the most magical RPGs ever made for the PS2. This game didn't just evolve the series, it reintroduced it in full 3D, like stepping into a fantasy anime that you could actually explore. From rolling green fields to massive castles and eerie forests, every corner of the world felt alive, packed with secrets just waiting to be found. One thing that made Dragon Quest VIII stand out was how it brought voice acting into the series for the first time in the West. And it wasn't just thrown in, it was actually really well done. The British accents, the quirky delivery, the way characters reacted in real-time dialogue, it all added a ton of personality and charm. The turn-based combat stayed true to its roots, but the tension system changed the game. You could charge up your characters mid-fight to unleash way more powerful attacks, which added a layer of planning that kept battles from feeling repetitive. But it wasn't just about combat. The story pulled you in with emotional moments, funny side characters, and plot twists that actually landed. It balanced that epic journey vibe with down-to-earth humor and heart. What really made this game hit different, though, was the vibe. Akira Toriyama's art style gave the game so much personality. Every monster, every town, every little NPC felt unique. The cast was hilarious and lovable, especially Yangus, the gruff ex-bandit with a heart of gold. And the soundtrack? Straight fire. Every track nailed the mood, whether you were exploring, in battle, or caught in some emotional cutscene. Dark Cloud 2 was the kind of game that made you forget what time it was. One second you're swinging a wrench at monsters, the next you're designing entire cities from scratch. It blended action RPG combat with town building in a way that felt way ahead of its time. Every dungeon run gave you materials to rebuild the world, and every building you placed actually mattered to the story and gameplay. Every dungeon was randomly generated, so no run ever felt the same. And let's not forget the invention system. Yeah, this game had blueprints. You'd take photos of random objects in the world and combine them to discover new inventions, then actually craft those items to use in battle or town building. It was such a weird but awesome feature that rewarded curiosity like crazy. You start looking at everything like, wait, can I use that lamp, a fish, and a cannon to build something wild? Spoiler, sometimes yes. But what really made it click was the gear system. You could level up your gear, break it down, fuse it, evolve it. It made every battle feel like it actually mattered because your weapons grew with you. Plus, the characters were full of personality. The story was surprisingly heartfelt, and the art style gave everything this charming, almost storybook vibe that still holds up today. It's one of those games people slept on back then, but if you give it a shot now, it'll grab you and not let go. Silent Hill 2 messes with your head in a way most horror games don't even try. It's not just about monsters or jump scares. It's about guilt, trauma, and the darkness people carry inside. You step into this fog-covered town, and nothing feels right. The silence is louder than the sound. The streets feel empty but threatening, and you start questioning if what you're seeing is even real. One of the wildest things is how the game plays with your expectations. Like, there are moments where mirrors feel more threatening than enemies, or where you hear footsteps but no one's there. The game loves messing with your perception. Sometimes doors lead to nowhere, or a room you swore was empty suddenly has something off. The monsters aren't random, they're reflections of the pain and guilt the main character's trying to bury. And the story? It hits hard. It's not just creepy, it's heartbreaking. The music sticks with you, the visuals haunt you, and by the end, you're not just scared, you're emotionally wrecked. Out of all the games on the PlayStation 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 felt like it came from the future. It threw you into the middle of a Cold War jungle with nothing but instincts, a knife, and pure survival skills. You weren't just hiding from guards, you were camouflaging, treating your own injuries, and hunting snakes to stay alive. It was brutal, but so immersive. The stealth wasn't just a gameplay mechanic, it was the whole vibe. You had to think, adapt, and move like a ghost. One wrong step and it could all fall apart. One thing that made Metal Gear Solid 3 even crazier was how smart the enemy AI was. These guards didn't just follow basic patrol routes. They'd actually call for backup, search in groups, react to footprints, blood trails, and even noises you made crawling through the grass. You could be hiding perfectly, but if you left behind a clue, they'd find you. And the story? It was packed with twists, raw emotion, and unforgettable characters. It took the franchise's deep narrative to a whole new level. But what really blew people away was how cinematic it felt. Cutscenes weren't just filler, they told a story that pulled you in and didn't let go. And that ending, if you know, you know. It hit hard, and it still sticks with players years later.
Grenade! You coward! You coward!
Black was pure chaos in the best way possible. It wasn't trying to be deep or tactical, it just wanted to blow stuff up, and it nailed that. The sound alone made it unforgettable. Every explosion felt like it shook the room, and the gunfire had this insane punch that made each shot feel real. People literally used it to test out their speakers because the audio was that intense. But it wasn't just the sound. The gameplay was full throttle from start to finish. You were dropped into non-stop chaos with shootouts that felt like blockbuster movie scenes. Bullets tore through walls, cover didn't last, and the action never let up. One cool thing that made Black stand out was how the devs treated guns like the main characters. They put so much detail into the way each weapon felt, sounded, and looked. Reload animations were insanely satisfying, like you could reload the same gun 100 times and it'd never get old. And they didn't overload you with tons of different weapons. Instead, they focused on making every single one feel badass. For a PlayStation 2 game, it looked wild, with explosions everywhere, debris flying, and this gritty, cinematic vibe that still sticks with anyone who played it.
Stay down, I think we got moving up. But I have seen the face of time, and I can tell you, they are wrong.
There's platformers, and then there's Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. It wasn't just about jumping and fighting, it gave you control over time itself. Messed up a jump? Took a sword to the face? Just rewind and try again. That one mechanic flipped the whole genre on its head. Movement felt buttery smooth. Wall runs, flips, tightrope walks. It was like parkour before parkour was cool. It wasn't just about surviving the level, it was about doing it with style. And even the combat, while simple, flowed in a way that kept you hooked. And let's not forget the level design. Every area felt like one giant puzzle box, where you had to really look around and think about how to get from point A to point B. It wasn't just go right and jump, you'd be scaling walls, flipping switches, dodging traps, and timing every move like a pro. What really hit, though, was the story. It had this cool mix of ancient legends, time travel, and personal redemption. For a lot of players, this was the game that made platformers feel cinematic, emotional, and way smarter than anyone expected. There's just something about GTA Vice City that hits different. Dropped into a flashy, chaotic version of the 80s, you're living out a full-blown crime saga, fast cars, big egos, and a whole lot of betrayal. You play as Tommy Vercetti, a guy fresh out of prison, hungry for power, and not afraid to burn bridges to get there. It's basically every gangster movie you've ever loved, cranked up with neon lights and synth music. What made this game stand out wasn't a massive map or endless side quests. It was the vibe. The city felt alive. You could cruise past palm trees at sunset, flip the radio to a banger, and just exist in that world. Whether you were escaping a botched drug deal or hijacking a helicopter, the game never let off the gas. And let's not forget the property system, yeah. Vice City let you straight up buy businesses. From nightclubs to film studios, you were building an empire. Owning properties unlocked new missions, passive income, and made you feel like a true kingpin. Combat is wild, unpredictable, and loud. You've got everything from machetes to rocket launchers, and no mission ever plays out the same way twice. One job might have you crashing a party in a stolen tux. The next, you're flying a chopper to rain bullets on your enemies. For a lot of players, GTA Vice City wasn't just a game. It was the start of a lifelong obsession with open-world chaos.
You poor bastard! Stop him!
Come on!
Get ready to kick butt.
When it comes to fighting games that truly left a mark, nothing hits like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This game was pure chaos in the best way possible. Over 50 characters, insane tag team mechanics, and non-stop action made it an instant classic. You could mix and match heroes and villains from both worlds to build your ultimate squad, then jump into fast-paced battles where every move exploded with style. What really set it apart was how accessible it felt. You didn't need to be a pro to have fun, but if you knew what you were doing, you could pull off some of the flashiest and most ridiculous combos ever seen in a fighter. The 3-fighter tag system kept the pace electric, letting you swap characters mid-fight and pull off crazy assist attacks that completely flipped the momentum. And visually, it still slaps. The mix of hand-drawn 2D characters and vibrant 3D stages gave it a unique vibe that holds up even today. Whether you were just button-mashing with friends or chasing high-level ranked matches, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 delivered pure hype every single time. If you've never played Burnout 3, you missed out on one of the wildest racing games ever made. This wasn't about clean laps or precision driving. This was about wrecking your rivals at 150 miles an hour and loving every second of it. What made it legendary was how it turned crashes into the main event. Takedowns were brutal and satisfying, like sending an opponent straight into a wall at full speed and watching it unfold in glorious slow motion. And then came Crash Mode, which honestly felt like its own game. You were dropped into traffic with one mission: create the most ridiculous, explosive pileup imaginable. The more damage, the better. But what really cranked up the chaos was how the AI wasn't just there to follow the track. They were out for blood too. Opponents would try to ram you off the road, block your boost lines, and go full revenge mode if you took them down earlier. The sense of speed was nuts. Once you hit that boost, it felt like the car might rip itself apart. Add one of the most iconic rock soundtracks from that era, and Burnout 3 was a full-on assault on your senses.
I am a shadow.
In the middle of a sleepy little town where nothing ever seems to happen, a series of bizarre murders suddenly flips everything upside down. That's the setup for Persona 4, a game that starts slow but pulls you into one of the most unexpected and emotional journeys on the PlayStation 2. You play as a transfer student trying to settle into a new life, but things get weird fast. People start dying under mysterious circumstances, and the only clue? It's somehow linked to a creepy TV world that comes alive at midnight. The game nails this perfect balance between teenage life and supernatural chaos. One minute you're picking out what club to join or trying to impress your crush, and the next you're battling twisted monsters that represent people's darkest secrets. It sounds wild, and it is, but it works. The TV world isn't just a random creepy dimension. It actually reflects what people are hiding deep inside, stuff they'd never say out loud. Every dungeon you explore is shaped by a character's suppressed emotions, like fear, shame, or denial. What really hits hard is how personal everything feels. Each character has their own demons to face, and watching them grow, not just in battle, but as people, is what makes the story so damn good. You're not just fighting shadows, you're helping your friends accept who they are, flaws and all. And the soundtrack? It's got that perfect mix of chill and hype that sticks with you. Even when you're not playing, the songs stay in your head. Persona 4 is more than just a supernatural murder mystery. It's a game about connection, about accepting who you are, and about digging for the truth even when it's uncomfortable. It's stylish, it's deep, and it stays with you long after the final boss is gone. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance brought the magic of dungeon crawling straight to the couch. No mouse and keyboard needed. It ditched the slow, turn-based style the series was known for and went all in on real-time action. What you got was a fast, brutal, and satisfying hack-and-slash set in the Dungeons & Dragons universe. Combat felt tight, loot was addictive, and every swing of your weapon had weight. You also had this really cool upgrade system where you could actually feel your character getting stronger, unlocking new abilities, improving your gear, and turning basic attacks into full-blown screen-clearing combos. And let's not forget the elemental damage effects. Setting enemies on fire or freezing them mid-swing never got old. The co-op mode was the real game-changer though. Grab a friend, pick your class, and dive into chaotic battles, smashing through waves of enemies and chasing gear upgrades like your life depended on it. But the game wasn't just about fighting. It had a solid story, awesome level design, and just the right touch of old-school RPG depth. It flew under the radar for a lot of people, but for those who played it, this one's a classic.
This! Sodin.
Resident Evil Code Veronica doesn't always get the spotlight like the main games, but man, it deserves way more love. This game took risks most titles wouldn't dare to at the time. It picked up right after the events of Resident Evil 2 and threw Claire into one of the toughest fights of her life. This game leaned hard into the survival aspect. You're constantly low on ammo, healing items are rare, and every hallway feels like a trap. The story pulls you in fast. Claire's searching for her brother Chris, and things spiral into chaos real quick. When Chris finally shows up, it flips everything on its head. You're not just surviving anymore, you're unraveling a twisted family drama with bioweapons and betrayal everywhere. What made it even more intense was the switch between Claire and Chris during the game. You weren't just playing one long campaign, you were seeing two different perspectives, jumping between them at key moments. That gave the story way more depth and tension, especially when stuff you did as Claire would affect what Chris had to deal with later. Visually, it pushed the hardware hard. The environments were detailed and felt way more dynamic compared to older entries. But what really hits hard is the atmosphere. The locations feel cold, empty, and dangerous, with that constant sense of dread lurking around every corner. And the music? Creepy in all the right ways. It's not trying to be flashy, it just gets under your skin. It's that classic Resident Evil formula, but dialed up with better cutscenes, more voice acting, and some of the best character moments we'd seen in the series up to that point. If you skipped this one, you missed a core part of Resident Evil's evolution. It's a survival horror gem that helped shape everything that came after. Star Wars Battlefront 2 wasn't just another shooter, it was a full-on Star Wars experience. Massive battles, epic heroes, and that unmistakable galaxy far, far away vibe. It nailed the fantasy of being in the middle of all the chaos, whether you were blasting rebels as a stormtrooper or charging into battle as a Jedi with your lightsaber drawn. Every fight felt like it mattered. The single-player campaign was a nice surprise too. Instead of just throwing you into random missions, it actually told a story from the perspective of the Empire. You saw the rise of the dark side through the eyes of a clone who believed in the cause, which gave the whole thing a different kind of weight. And let's not forget the multiplayer. This game went big with huge maps, dozens of players, ships flying overhead, walkers stomping through the battlefield. It was pure chaos in the best way. You could hop in a starfighter, take down enemies on foot, or even turn the tide by spawning as iconic characters like Darth Vader or Yoda. Whether you were holding the line on Hoth or pushing through the forests of Endor, Battlefront 2 didn't just look like Star Wars, it felt like it.
It ain't over until I say it's over.
There's a reason why Need for Speed Most Wanted still hits different after all these years. This game threw you straight into the chaos, no warm-up, no mercy. You had your ride stolen, your rep shattered, and the only way to bounce back was to take down the entire blacklist, one racer at a time. What made this game stand out was how it blended insane street racing with a real sense of purpose. It gave you an open world to explore, full of hidden shortcuts and ramps that could turn a losing race into a last-second win. But the real star of the show? Those police chases. You weren't just racing for first place, you were running for your life. Roadblocks, spikes, choppers, everything was out to stop you. And the longer you lasted, the more intense it got. And let's not forget the heat system. Every move you made raised your heat level, and once it got high enough, it felt like the whole damn city was after you. You'd start out with basic patrol cars, but by the time you were deep into the blacklist, they were sending in Corvettes and SWAT units. The mix of arcade handling and just enough realism made it easy to pick up but hard to master. Add a killer soundtrack, sleek car customization, and some of the most iconic racing cutscenes of its time, and you've got a game that still holds its own today.
Kratos, the once mortal warrior, became the new god of war.
Just when people thought the PlayStation 2 was done, God of War 2 came in swinging like a wrecking ball. The moment you pick up the controller, it throws you into absolute chaos. You're fighting giant statues, clashing with gods, and tearing through enemies like it's nothing. And somehow, the console handled all of it like a champ. What really blew people's minds was how massive everything felt. The environments weren't just big, they were epic. You'd be solving a puzzle inside a temple, then zoom out and realize the whole thing is built on the back of a Titan. The camera work was insane for its time too, constantly moving to show off the scale without breaking the action. The combat felt way tighter than the first game. More combos, more weapons, and the magic actually felt powerful. You were going head-to-head with gods, titans, and creatures the size of buildings. And the story? It hit harder than ever. Kratos wasn't just angry anymore. He was out for revenge with a purpose, and that made every scene feel personal. The ending leaves you on a cliff so wild, it's impossible not to jump straight into the next chapter. Final Fantasy X dropped at a time when nobody thought games could look that good. This was before HD, before online hype. You'd see a screenshot in a magazine and just stare, wondering how a PS2 could pull it off. But the game wasn't just eye candy, it hit hard emotionally. The story of Titus and Yuna is still one of the most talked about love stories in gaming, filled with sacrifice, hope, and loss. Every character felt real, with their own struggles and growth, and that made the journey hit even harder. The combat? Still one of the cleanest turn-based systems out there. It gave you time to think, swap out characters mid-fight, and really plan every move. It had that perfect balance between strategy and flow, and the sphere grid leveling system added a crazy amount of depth. And then there's Blitzball. Yeah, not everyone loved it, but for a lot of players it became a full-on obsession. It was practically a whole separate RPG hidden inside the main one. You could recruit players, train them, manage formations, and dominate tournaments. It's not just one of the best RPGs on the PS2, it's one of the most memorable games ever made.
A tale of souls and swords, eternally retold.
While most fighting games were busy copying each other, Soul Calibur 2 came in swinging with style, speed, and a whole lot of personality. It wasn't just about flashy combos or big swords. This game nailed the feel of every hit, every parry, every perfect block. The combat was faster, the mechanics were tighter, and every character felt like they actually mattered. But the real twist? Each console had its own exclusive fighter. PlayStation 2 players got Heihachi with his raw martial arts, GameCube had Link swinging that Master Sword, and Xbox brought in Spawn with his chains and supernatural flair. That move alone had gamers arguing for years about which version was the best. And if you ever dove into the Weapon Master mode, you know that's where the real grind was. You had to complete specific challenges, unlock hidden weapons, and push your skills in weird, creative ways. One round might have reversed controls, another might throw in slippery floors or sudden death rules. It made you think differently, forced you to adapt, and honestly added way more replay value than most fighting games were offering at the time. But no matter where you played, Soul Calibur 2 delivered one of the cleanest, most addictive weapon-based fighting experiences out there.
You're all the same.
Final battle, fight!
Shadow of the Colossus throws you into a world that feels empty on purpose. You drop into this massive, empty world with no map clutter, no NPCs yelling at you, just your character, your horse, and 16 giant beasts standing between you and what you're trying to save. There's no hand-holding, no flashy tutorials, just pure exploration and quiet tension. You're out here chasing down towering creatures that feel more like living puzzles than enemies, climbing them, hanging on for dear life and watching them fall. It's epic, but it also makes you feel kind of guilty. That's the magic of this game. And let's talk about the silence. This game knew when to shut up. No background music while you ride, just the sound of wind, hooves, and distant echoes bouncing off the cliffs. It makes the moments when the music does kick in hit way harder. Each boss fight has its own theme, and when those drums start pounding as you scale a colossus, it turns into pure cinematic adrenaline. Yeah, the PlayStation 2 struggled to keep it running smooth, but honestly, that just proves how ahead of its time this game really was.
This can't be.
If you played action RPGs on the PlayStation 2, there's no way you skipped Kingdom Hearts 2. It took everything the first game did and cranked it up. Harder fights, slicker moves, bigger worlds, and way more heart. This wasn't just some cute crossover with Disney characters. This was an action RPG with real depth, tight gameplay, and moments that punched you right in the gut. From the second the game starts, you feel the stakes are higher. The combat is way faster, with flashy moves and a smooth flow that makes every battle feel like a full-blown event. And the drive forms? Total game changer. Switching styles mid-fight gave you the power to tear through enemies like never before. And then there was the reaction command system. This little mechanic added so much flair to boss fights. Instead of just mashing buttons, you had to time your moves perfectly to trigger these cinematic finishers that looked straight out of an anime. 1 second you're clashing blades with a boss, the next you're flipping through the air and dodging attacks in slow motion. Visually, it pushed the PlayStation 2 to its limits. Each world had its own vibe, from the neon lights of Tron's digital realm to the snowy streets of timeless Christmas towns. But what really pulled you in was the emotional core. The story didn't hold your hand. It threw you into mysteries, tough choices, and heartbreaking reunions. Even with all the spin-offs and side stories that came later, Kingdom Hearts 2 is still the one fans talk about. It's where everything clicked. And honestly, it's still one of the most unforgettable action RPGs ever made. Resident Evil 4 changed the game. It took survival horror, added a serious dose of adrenaline, and created something no one had ever seen before. That over-the-shoulder camera? Yeah, that became the blueprint for third-person shooters after this. The tension was real. Every corner felt like a trap, every bullet had to count, and every enemy, especially those chainsaw guys, kept your heart racing. What made it stand out wasn't just the action. It was the atmosphere, the pacing, the way the game constantly threw new challenges at you without ever feeling unfair. You were never fully safe, and that kept you locked in. When it hit the PlayStation 2 was a global takeover. More people got to play it, and its legacy exploded. Sure, the remake looks cleaner and plays smoother, but the original still hits different. It's gritty, intense, and unforgettable. Before we close this out, there's no way we're skipping these two. They're not just honorable mentions, they're essential. First up, Guitar Hero 2. It was the moment rhythm games went mainstream, and suddenly, everyone wanted to be a rock star. And that plastic guitar made every riff feel like magic. The set list? Absolute fire. From classic rock to heavy metal, it had bangers that made you want to replay tracks just to master them. And yeah, it got hard, like way too hard. But that's what made it addictive. Every time you nailed a solo, you felt like a legend. Final Fantasy XII doesn't get talked about enough, but man, it was way ahead of its time. While most people were still obsessed with Final Fantasy X, this one quietly came in and changed everything. The Gambit system? Pure genius. Then there's the world, massive, open, and full of life. You weren't just running from town to town, you were exploring, discovering hidden secrets, tackling tough side quests, and getting lost in the politics of it all. And speaking of politics, the story ditched the usual Chosen One stuff and went deep into war, betrayal, and power struggles. It felt grounded, even mature. For me, this isn't just a great Final Fantasy game, it's my favorite. And now I want to hear from you. What are your all-time favorite PlayStation 2 games? Did your top pick make the list, or did I miss a hidden gem? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and smash that subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thanks for hanging out with me and reliving the golden era of gaming. Catch you in the next one.